What's going on, everyone? First and foremost, welcome to episode 5. Second, all my new subscribers, thank you. The channel is growing. See the spike happening. Appreciate everybody sharing, liking. All my old subscribers, thank you, of course, for always being here. I see the comments. I try to comment back to everybody, but I can only do so much. Got 3 new topics coming up, and I will say this. If you're watching these videos and you're like, oh man, he didn't cover this, or I want him to cover that, comment down below. It's that simple. These videos and everything else I do on the channel is for you guys. It's to help you guys. It's to help educate you guys and share my knowledge over the course of doing this for 24 years or so. Let's get into it. Let's jump right into myth number 1. A block guard helps support the cylinders to allow you to make more power. That answer is false. And I'll tell you this, if I had a rubber stamper that said false, I'd be banging it against the camera, that's what she said, until the tripod actually fell over. So let me get into it a little bit here, and I'm going to insert a picture right here. Now, a block guard is sold as a device that is supposed to help strengthen the sleeves and prevent them from moving. Look at this picture. The one big issue with a block guard is the clearances all around the cylinder are not the same. In some areas, you have super tight fitment. In other areas, it almost looks like you could fit your finger in there. Okay, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but you get the picture. Take a look at it. You can see the little gaps. A cylinder is going to want to move naturally, just like metal. When metal heats up, it's going to want to expand, and it's going to want to move a certain way. So when you throw a block guard in your block that doesn't fit properly, and let's face it, a block guard is supposed to be installed by a machine shop, but most guys will get the block guard and they're just going to hammer it in their block. The clearances all around are not the same. That is the big problem. When you prevent the cylinder from moving one way, but the other area it can move because the clearances are loose, you're actually going to probably promote that block cracking even sooner, besides if you didn't have a block guard. I don't want you guys to confuse the other thing that's out on the market. That's been out there for about 10 years or so, give or take. Cylinder sleeve support, CSS. That is basically a machine block guard that all around the clearances are the same. So you don't have certain areas where the cylinders can move a little bit, and you don't have certain areas where they absolutely can't move. You have the same clearances all around, and that's the proper way to do it. Do we recommend cylinder sleeve support blocks, CSS? Yes, absolutely. We have them in stock. Do we also encourage people to look into a sleeve block and the process of that and how much those can hold? Yes. But going back to the original question, the original myth, are block guards good or do they help? They do not. And I will say this, if we were back 20 years ago or so when we had message boards, this topic was beaten to death probably on a weekly basis for years on out. So older guys like me know this. Younger guys that aren't on message boards, they don't know. And that's kind of why I'm putting it out there. You know, back in the day, we saw a lot more blocks that had block guards. Nowadays, it's far and few between. I think guys have done the proper research. And I also think shop owners have also informed their customers not to run a block guard. So at the end of the day, don't run a block guard. If you're getting to that power level where you're going to have to up it, look into a CSS block and look into a sleeve block. Let's get right into myth number 2. You cannot boost a stock engine. That's false. That's false. So there's a couple different things that I want to cover in this one. First and foremost, if you're looking to modify your vehicle to that extent, where you're looking to add a turbocharger or a supercharger, you should ultimately look into a tuning device and see what's out there. If there's no tuning device out there on the market, then you could possibly look into a standalone, but I will say this, you need to do your homework on a standalone. It is not something that is easily installed in a vehicle if there's no type of wiring harness adapter for it. You got to do your research and figure out what the weak spot of that system is. Now, if you have a very popular vehicle, this is going to be easy to do. There's going to be a bunch of guys on the internet or on Facebook or wherever that have been talking about this throughout the years. Hey, this is the weak area. Hey, this engine is known to have weaker connecting rods. Don't exceed 300 horsepower. Something like that. Besides the weak stuff, you also want to consider the compression ratio. And I know some guys commented on this and they wanted me to talk about this, so here you go. Thank you. The compression ratio, if it is too high to run normal type of gas, and I'm talking about pump gas 89, anything higher, 90, 91, 92, 93 octane. If the compression ratio is too high that when you add boost you're going to have a problem, you ultimately have to look into if you run E85, will it help with the compression ratio? You can also look into maybe lowering the compression ratio. Now, I'm not going to get into how to lower the compression ratio in this video, and we're not going to get into E85 and the octane and all that fun stuff. I want to keep it simple, as I said. So at the end of the day, let's say the compression ratio is good, you can boost. Let's say you found the weak spot, connecting rods. Don't go past 350. And you got a tuning device for it. You're all set, right? Hold on 1 second. What I highly encourage you to do is 2 tests on your engine. A compression test and a leak down test. Not a lot of people are familiar with a leak down test, and I'll actually provide a link down below that I did before, explaining how you do one and explaining a little bit more about what a leak down test is. If those 2 tests come back good, you still have to consider how many miles are on that engine to a point. The compression and leak down test showed that motor is healthy, but you have 150,000 miles on that engine. Well, just like pretty much everything in life, as time goes by, things get weaker. You have some good amount of mileage on that engine, which ultimately, if you break it down, it's metal. Metal fatigues over time. It is what it is. You have to be prepared in a sense that if you're boosting a higher mileage engine, or if you're getting a junkyard engine, which we see a lot of guys do, and when I say junkyard, I mean a used engine that you really don't know the background of, you got to always prepare yourself that there could be a failure. No matter what you do. You got an engine that's about 10, 15 years old, stuff can happen. It was designed from the factory to make 160, 170 horsepower, and now you're nearly doubling it. So you have to be prepared in a sense that something can go wrong and you could have a catastrophic failure. It's the nature of the game. And just because you've seen such and such on the internet make a certain number, make a certain power, that doesn't mean that engine didn't let go when the customer was driving down the road. That doesn't mean that after a week or so that the guy was doing a pull on the highway and it just exploded into many, many pieces. You got to do some homework and you got to take everything into consideration. Going into our final topic, or our myth, whatever you like to call it, you shouldn't or you can't daily drive a twin disc. That answer is false. Okay, let's get into this. Let's get a couple things out of the way. 1, clutches are rated at torque. But to keep things simple here, we're going to be talking about horsepower. I'm going to make some references. 2, we're talking about Hondas. I know a Honda that's making 450 to 500 horsepower, the torque is going to be completely different than a V8. And then the other thing I want to discuss before I jump in is I'm not going to get into detail why a twin disc is better. I can talk for another 20 minutes on that subject. I'm going to simply talk about why I think the question or the topic or the myth is even brought up that you can't daily drive a twin disc. So if you're not new to this topic and it interests you, well, then I'm going to say you're either making around 450 to 500 horsepower or you plan on it. If you don't and have no idea when you should upgrade to a twin disc, that is our tipping point. If you're making about 450 to 500 horsepower or anything higher, then you should consider a twin disc. I'm not, as I said, going to get into why a twin disc is better, but I'm going to tell you my beliefs and I'm going to explain a little bit why. Speaking of clutches, and when you come to the stages, stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, stage 5, stage 6, I don't recommend anything higher than a stage 4 clutch. And when I say stage 4 clutch, I am speaking on behalf of Competition Clutch. We run Competition Clutch a lot. We've had great success with them. A Stage 4 Competition Clutch is going to be a 6-puck sprung clutch. Anything higher than that when it comes to stages, Stage 5 and 6, is going to be super aggressive. The pressure plate is going to be super stiff, and it's going to be very hard to drive compared to a twin disc. Now, that goes without saying. A twin disc is hard to drive, and there is going to be some getting used to it, but it's just like the Stage 4 guys as well. When we see them leave here, first time ever driving a Stage 4, where they almost kill the car out, or they actually die out in the middle of the street, we do a follow with them up a couple days later or a week later. Hey, how'd you like the clutch? It took some getting used to. But now I don't even remember that it's in there. It's like a normal car. It's like when you drive stick shift for the first time. You're so concentrated of trying to do it, and then a couple weeks later, you almost forgot that you're even driving a stick shift. It all comes natural. So with that being said, a Stage 4 clutch is going to be the highest clutch that we recommend for a street car, for a race car, and anything after that a Stage 4 cannot hold, that is when the twin disc should come into play. Now, you need to go do some research on why a twin disc is actually better. Besides having double the surface area, hence the name, it's a twin disc, and all the other info. But that's not what this video is about right now. Very basic, very simple. And this is for the new guys starting off, or the guys that are pushing that power but are scared to jump in a twin disc. Just do it. Try it out. If you got a buddy that is nice enough to maybe let you jump in his car once or twice to feel it, it's not going to be that bad. It's not going to be as bad as you're thinking, I think. And the other thing to consider is a twin disc can be broken down. You can replace the clutch discs, and most twin discs will actually come with a flywheel. So yes, that could also be another big scary thing to consider, that a twin disc costs so much, but as I said, you're getting a flywheel, and ultimately they're serviceable, so long term, you're going to end up saving some money. I'll also add, a lot of guys think a twin disc, the actual pedal is going to be super stiff. It's actually not that bad. Compared to a Stage 5 and a Stage 6 clutch, a twin disc, the pedal actually feels a lot softer. So don't be scared about jumping into a twin disc thinking that pedal is going to feel like your leg is going to fall off after you get to work or wherever you're going. It's not that bad. So going back to the original myth, can you daily drive a twin disc? Absolutely, yes you can. And you can drive it for a good lengthy amount of times. We have guys that will drive them for a year or two before they actually have to service them. And of course, it all depends on how you drive. As I said in other videos, if you're at every stoplight and every stop sign and you're just dropping the clutch, don't expect it to last that much. Just like anything else. With everything covered, as I always say, I appreciate you guys. Without you guys, there would be nothing. That's the truth to it. Not only to this video, but for my business. Now, some of these topics, I would love to go a little bit more in depth, but in all honesty, not only am I going to talk forever, I believe when I start going into depth and stuff, I kind of lose some guys here and there. They want a simple answer. If you want to see me discuss something, please let me know. I'm here to help you guys. I'm here to educate. I'm here to share knowledge. A lot of comments that I've been reading have been about other questions, and I can't turn it into a myth. So in the future more so, and when I say can't turn it into a myth, I mean how I word it, we might be discussing more so questions instead of myths. So hopefully you enjoyed it. I appreciate everybody watching. Thank you.